Power of gratitude. So excited to be here talking about this topic on the AHS anniversary celebration. It's also November. So here in the US, that means Thanksgiving. And we, have gratitude top of mind this time of year. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started. But make sure as you hop on to say hello, let me know that you're here. And also drop something you're grateful for and why in the chat. Hey, Jamie, welcome. I bet I know some things you're grateful for this season for sure. I'm so glad that you're here and happy anniversary. All right, so I'm going to get this all set up for us, see what we can do here. You're very welcome. I'm so glad to be here. And so grateful that you created this space for all of us too, because it really is such an incredible place to learn and to grow and to become better, right? With our health and well-being, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the way around because we have AHS. So, welcome officially, everybody, to Rewiring Your Mind with the Power of Gratitude. My name is Jody Solberg. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me here in a moment. But I want to let you know that today, what we're going to do is we're going to uncover the science behind how your mind works. And you're going to learn how gratitude can actually rewire your mind for lasting change. So we're going to talk about the subconscious mind. We're going to debunk some myths about how we can rewire our minds. And I'm going to guide you through some powerful exercises, including a short gratitude session, a little hypnotic meditation today to help you integrate gratitude into your daily life. So here's a little bit about me. I have been in mental and behavioral health now for 25 years. And about 23 years ago, I decided that I wanted to coach people in their businesses when I was in grad school for clinical psychology and becoming a hypnotherapist. So really, honestly, so that I could pay off all my 6 figures in student loans. But what that gave me was a really unique perspective because I was working with people in their businesses and in their personal lives. And of course, we're whole people, right? We're not just our health in a bubble or our business in a bubble or a parent or a, daughter or a sibling or a friend. We're all the things, right? So we're individuals and we're interacting with other people. And we have all of these things that we value. And so what happened over that time, over these last 2+ decades, I have become a certified master hypnotherapist, a transpersonal wellness coach, which means looking at the entire person, and a best-selling author of lots of books. I've co-authored many, many books. And you can actually see over here a few of my journals. And my journals all have something in common, and that is that I always address gratitude. So whether it's my Burnout to Bliss guide and journal, or it's my Everything Happens for a Lesson, a journal that is a growth mindset journal, or Embracing Your Strengths, which is all about, just like it sounds, finding your strengths and working with them rather at cross purposes. In every single one, I talk about gratitude and how powerful that is and how we can truly rewire our minds. Now, as someone who's been a hypnotherapist for so long, I really work with the subconscious with clients, and it's all about shifting our mindsets to that power of gratitude so we can really make these positive permanent changes. And so the first thing I want to talk to you about today, in order to start to unravel how to make this happen and how we can shift our mindsets, is really explaining the subconscious mind, because it's really like under the surface. Think about an iceberg, for example. I'm going to give you a few analogies for the subconscious today. An iceberg just has the little tip coming out of the water, and that's maybe 5% of the entire iceberg. And then under the surface is the other 95%, and it's underneath, but you can't always see it from the top. And so think about your mind like that, where that tip of the iceberg is your conscious mind. It's your thoughts, your decisions that you're actually aware of. It's where you make goals and plans, and your willpower lives there. And then the massive other 95% below the surface is your subconscious. That's where your beliefs, your emotions, your memories, your habits, you're running on autopilot, as we like to say, all of those things, all of your daily thoughts and actions are coming from your subconscious. It's taking in every bit of information that we're exposed to throughout the day and processing it and forming new beliefs based on our experiences. And it influences our actions without us always consciously realizing it. And so it really is navigating you through your daily life based on your programming. And unfortunately, a lot of that programming can lean negatively. So, for example, if you believe deep down that you're not worthy of success because maybe you were told that, or it was implied, or that was something that you formed a belief around for whatever reason, as you were going through life, right? Your subconscious is going to filter opportunities through that belief. So often we can sabotage ourselves without even realizing it. It happens so quickly that we don't notice, or we don't realize that it's happening until it already has. That's what happens a lot of times for people, if they have feelings that are unresolved, and we have these coping strategies that are trying to make us feel good but are working at cross purposes with those conscious goals. Like, for example, with your health, knowing logically, consciously, here's the plan for my health, but then something keeps sabotaging you, right? That's coming from your subconscious. Now, the good news is you can reprogram these patterns with intention and tools that I'm going to teach you today, including gratitude and including self hypnosis. So, we're going to be talking about that as well, because there's so much that we can do. We can shift our mindset around health, whether that be around eating and weight or pain, or it could be around money, it could be around different kinds of success, it could be literally anything. So let's kind of dive into what kind of mindset leans on the way that we want to move away from, and what kind of mindset do we want to go towards. So we're going to talk about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset is really that all or nothing, black or white, right or wrong, pass or fail, succeed or fail type of mindset. It operates on the belief that our abilities, on our intelligence, and our skill sets are unchangeable. Whereas a growth mindset embraces the idea that we can evolve, we can grow. And the big difference is that growth mindset empowers you to take control of your life. Now, I mentioned earlier that I wrote a whole book about growth mindset. And so I want you to think about how important this is, because I work on this with every single one of my clients, like moving towards the I can learn, I can change, I can grow, I can figure this out. It's all figure outable. For instance, instead of saying, oh, I'm horrible at this, or never going to be good at that, it's also where like the nevers and always lives, is on the fixed mindset side. You can say on the growth mindset side, I'm learning and improving every day. Gratitude actually fosters a growth mindset by focusing on progress and abundance rather than on limitations. So we really want to figure out, how do we shift out of the fixed and into the growth? And how we do that is by identifying some limiting beliefs. So we really want to look at, what is your self-talk? What are you saying to yourself? Limiting beliefs are invisible barriers that we place on ourselves. Because if we say, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I'm horrible at this, I'll never make enough money, or I don't deserve love, or sometimes we get that self critic, right? Our conscious, critical, analytical, hypervigilant little part of ourselves that's like, well, you didn't do it before. What makes you think you can do it again? And it's always criticizing us and trying to block us. Well, those thoughts stem from beliefs, because beliefs create thoughts, which then create emotions, which then create behaviors or actions internally and externally. And so what happens is, though, these underlying beliefs are tricky because those emotions actually move faster. They move 4 times faster than our thinking brain. So our emotional center, our amygdala, is moving so quick that it takes time for our thinking mind to catch up. And so sometimes we don't even realize that we're saying these things to ourselves, because the belief, as soon as our nervous system like catches something that we're like, ooh, that doesn't feel good, the emotion comes so strongly that we don't even realize we're thinking it or saying it until we do. And so that's where we want to work on with identifying these limiting beliefs, because the most important thing is actually the thoughts and the words, because these beliefs often stem from past experiences, messages we absorbed all the way back even as children. And now they've been repeated so much for so long that they're pretty automatic at this point. So we want to slow down this process. I'm going to hit the pause button and just slow this down and really look at what the self-talk is. So we can take a moment to reflect on maybe a belief and how we find that belief as we look at the things you're telling yourself, right? So if you're telling yourself, I'm never going to succeed, right? The belief might be, I always fail, or I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of that success. So we need to look at what those self-talk statements are. And then we can boil that down to, what does that mean? Now, we have thousands and thousands of thoughts every single day. Most of them are negative. Okay, think about that lovely 80-20 rule, right? Most of them are going to be negative, and most of them are repetitive. So they're the same thoughts you thought yesterday and the day before and the day before that. Now, part of this and why it's so negative is how we're wired. We're wired to constantly be scanning for threats. And that's what our brains are doing all the time. It's like looking for what might be threatening. Now, it might not be a physical threat, right? Because we are often pretty well protected unless you're in, a more dangerous job or an abusive relationship. A lot of times we have relative physical safety happening in our lives. However, we have perceived threats, because in our modern world, there's a lot of things that might make us uncomfortable. It might seem scary, even though it's not life threatening, it's emotionally threatening. And so what happens is that we're, first of all, wired to always scan and look for things. And if we're like, ooh, I don't like that. Ooh, that's not comfortable. Even if it's not a physical threat, we can allow it to stop us. Now, the second thing is that our society is pretty negatively leaning. And so a lot of what we're absorbing around us might be more geared towards the negative. And so it's reinforcing that negativity. And so that's why it's so important to slow this down and get really intentional. And so we want to look at, what are our negative self-talk statements? Where are you saying, I am blank, like something negative, or I can't, or I'm not good at, or I'm horrible at this, I'll never be able to do that. I want you to think of those types of things. And so take a moment to reflect on that. Like, where are those statements for you? What are some things you can think of right now? Now, you may want to take some time over the next week to start to observe and become more aware of those, because there may be things, like I said, happening that you're not even realizing what you're saying to yourself. But now that we've had this conversation, you're going to start to notice it more. And that will help tremendously. Now, once you've written some of those down, then what you can do is you can look for common themes. Because generally speaking, like I said, most of those thoughts are the same thoughts we thought before, which means there's not going to be a ton of variation. You're not going to have, 50 different self-talk statements. Generally, you're going to have, a core like 5 or 10 maybe that are really repetitive. So maybe half a dozen or a dozen at the most, something like that. And they're all going to boil down to maybe a few core identified limiting beliefs. So as you're doing this, you'll be able to look at, okay, I can identify this, group these ones together. I can identify this, group these statements together. And then this one, group these statements together. So just depending, it might all come down to one, it might come down to two, it might come down to 3 or 4, just depends. But it may come down to things like success is hard to achieve, I'm not good enough, things of that nature. Now, for me, way back when I was doing all of those things that I told you about when I was in school to become a therapist, when I was becoming a coach, all of those things, for years and years, what was really programmed into me from a very young age was you have to work really, really hard to be successful. And the more successful you are, AKA the more money you make, right, the harder you have to work in order to be respected for that. So I figured out that everything was boiling down to that. So obviously, I don't physically work with my hands. However, how could I make it hard? Because it had to be hard for it to be well earned and respected. And so the more I made, the more hours I was working, the more I was piling on my plate. So we all have things like this that are getting in our way. And so you want to have that awareness. That's the first step. And the next step after that is intentional reprogramming. Okay, so we're going to shift this. And an example of how we're going to shift it is to something like, for example, if your belief boils down to, let's say, I always fail, right? Or I'll never succeed, then you can replace that with something else about being capable and that you can achieve success. And we can shift that, but we have to figure out how. So let's talk about how to do that. So we're going to look at something called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity, very simply, is your brain's ability to change. That is unlimited and it never expires. So neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to rewire itself by forming new neural pathways. So you can think of your brain like a muscle. The more you use a particular thought pathway, the stronger it becomes. It's like flexing it, right? And so the other way I think of it a lot of times, because I live in the Pacific Northwest in the woods, and so you can think of it as forming a trail or having the highway, right? So you take the highway all of the time, it's all paved over and it has become a highway because people used it so much. That's what happens in our brains. We use something so much, it becomes really, really strong and it's a really well-worn path. Now, the more you use a particular thought pattern, the stronger it becomes. But it doesn't mean you can't forge a new path. It doesn't mean you can't start to work a new muscle either, right? And so gratitude is a powerful tool for strengthening a new positive pathway, for strengthening and using a new muscle. And so we're going to do lots of reps with gratitude, and that's going to help us turn this new path into its own highway. So for instance, when you consistently focus on gratitude, the neural connections that support positivity and resilience get stronger. So over time, that practice is going to reshape your brain to default to more positive thoughts and emotions instead of that old negative default. So when we're focused on gratitude and growth, then we're not focused on that all or nothing and the negativity. Now, in order to rewire and really truly access that peak of neuroplasticity, we need to know a little bit of something about brainwaves. And brainwaves are really important because our brains just naturally operate in 5 different states. So, our beta state, so that's how quick things are moving, how many cycles per second, basically, our brains are operating on. Beta is your active, logical thinking, our everyday waking state where we're at right now. Now, when we go into alpha, then that is relaxed focus. That's like a light meditation. So if you've ever done meditation or yoga or prayer, things like that, that is going into alpha. It's also when you watch television and you watch the programming. They've been telling us that for years, that they're programming our brains. We just weren't really realizing what that word meant, right? So when you're watching TV, when you're watching commercials in a more relaxed state, you are being programmed. Also, then when we go lower and slower than that, then we get into theta. That's deep relaxation and access to the subconscious. That's ideal for things like hypnosis, hypnotherapy. So we go from that alpha to theta state. Now, we also do these things when we go to sleep. And so when you get to delta, that's your deep sleep and healing. We need to get to delta for that really restorative sleep where we can really recover. And so we start at beta and then we start to relax and we go to alpha and then theta and then delta. And then gamma is actually faster. So gamma is high level thinking, creativity. It's those aha moments where you get like that spark of genius, that wonderful idea. It's a light bulb over your head. Okay. So, going to give you an idea of what those are. Now, again, between alpha and theta is important because that's where we can start to affect change and tap into your powerful subconscious mind. Theta is particularly powerful for rewiring the mind because it's when your subconscious is most open to creating those new pathways. So during our time here together today, I'm going to talk about how to get us into alpha, to start to learn how to do that so you can go even deeper into theta. And I have lots of ways that I can support you in doing that we're going to talk about so that we can really anchor this gratitude in deeply and start to really exercise that muscle. So it's kind of like a gym, utilizing these. It's like, what's going to be the most effective for you in working these muscles? It's being in the right environment and in the right state that's going to help you with that. Now, we are going to talk about hypnosis, like I said. So I want to clear up a couple misconceptions. Now, here's on the screen a very, broad definition. And so I'm going to break down the definition because it says it's a natural mental state of altered consciousness. So what altered consciousness means, because it sounds a little scary, right, is that you go into one of those brainwave states, you go into alpha and theta on purpose. So you're always in a state of altered consciousness if we're changing brainwave states, but we're doing it intentionally. We're not just allowing the television to program our minds. We're choosing to relax. I literally teach people to relax for a living. So we're learning how to relax our conscious mind and focus our concentration. So that's what's next on here, right? Highly focused concentration. So it's actually a state of more focus. Excuse me. It is starting to get really cold outside here. And that means the heat comes on inside. So it always gets me, you guys. There we go. Much better. To clear the throat a little bit. Because, I don't know if anybody else has an issue when that starts shifting, where it's like below freezing outside and then it's super toasty inside and it's nice and cozy, but then the air gets really dry. So turn the humidifiers on. So basically, think about this. So we are relaxing. Specifically, intentionally, we are focused in our concentration on something specific, and then we're tuning everything else out. Now, when you're watching TV or you're reading a book, something like that, you're tuning everything else out, right? Your diminished peripheral awareness means that you're not paying attention to everything that's going on. You're not getting super distracted. You're really focused, and we're focused inward because generally in this, your eyes are closed. They don't have to be, but they could be. And then heightened suggestibility means increased ability for change. Okay, ability to rewire your mind. Again, often used to help people relax, diminish sensation of pain, facilitate positive desired changes. So now that you know what it is, it's not losing awareness. It's not losing control. You're actually more in control and more aware. It is a focused state of relaxation, and it's a tool to access your subconscious more effectively. You have experienced some form of hypnosis before, right? When you are watching those shows and the commercials, when you've been driving and you're totally focused on something else and you miss your exit and you catch it right afterwards, or you get all the way home and you didn't even realize like how you got home. You're like, I don't remember making all the turns, but obviously I did. Right? That's called highway hypnosis. When we go on autopilot, your subconscious knows how to get home. Now, that never happens when you go somewhere new because you're super focused on where you're going, right? But if you already know where you're going, a lot of times we're thinking about our to-do list, what we're making for dinner later, what's happening next week, whatever it is, right? Or daydreaming. And so it's just a very natural state that we use intentionally to create change. And hypnotherapists like me help someone do that for therapeutic purposes. Now, we talked about the iceberg. We're actually going to talk about a ship now. And I really like this quote that says that your conscious mind is the captain and the crew, but your subconscious mind is the engine that drives the ship. Your subconscious mind really is in control, right? Your captain and your crew are making the plans, they're charting the map where they want to go, but the subconscious mind needs to be on board with the plan. If it's not on board with the plan, you're not going anywhere. And that's what happens a lot, right? If our conscious and our subconscious are working at cross purposes, you're like, I want to get there. I want to reach this goal. Your subconscious is like, but that's not uncomfortable for me. I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel good, right? Then what's going to happen? You're just going to stall out. It's like your engine's stalled. It's not working. And so your subconscious really does filter your reality. If you believe on a subconscious level that the world is full of scarcity, what's going to happen is you're only going to notice lack and how you can't and how there's not enough. Gratitude is what helps often. Gratitude and a growth mindset is what helps get your subconscious on board. It shifts those subconscious filters. When you focus on abundance and gratitude and what you want more of versus what you want less of, you can start to get on board with the plan and start moving towards the goal. Now, you can almost think of gratitude as like wearing a new pair of glasses that changes your perspective. So instead of focusing on everything that went wrong, then gratitude highlights what went right. It's rewiring your perception over time. That's why in all of my journals, I have things like that, like what went well today? What are you most grateful for today and why? And we're going to talk about why I mentioned, because I could put that in the chat too, the and why part. And that's because we want to infuse some emotion into this. There's actually 5 influences, 5 different ways to program our minds. And your subconscious doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, negative or positive. So we have to be very careful what we let in through these gateways. Now, if there's 2 conflicting, you can only have one belief about something at a time. If there's 2 conflicting beliefs, the positive one will win out. So that's good news. And so as you start to incorporate new statements, which we're going to do in a moment, to challenge those beliefs, things are going to be able to shift to the positive. Now, repetition is one of those ways to influence your subconscious, right? Repetition. However, it can take up to 400 times to create change if you're working just on that conscious beta level. Now, it may not work alone, like I mentioned, as this quote tells us, due to subconscious resistance. Habits can be formed through repetition. However, that old habit isn't erased. So you may still go back to it on autopilot, especially when something emotional happens, when you're triggered. So think of habits like smoking or emotional eating that tend to be tied to those emotions. Now, I can help you get that 400 number way down. So don't worry about that. We're going to work on that today. Now, the second way to influence your mind is through authority, suggestions, or commands. Your brain's going to either hit the obey or rebel button. Things like government, parents, doctors, teachers, religious figures, any kind of authority figure. Okay, that can definitely influence us. Our identity. So things like peer pressure, fitting in, mentors, heroes, identifying with a group. Could be in your career, could be with a religion, a political party, your state, your town, whatever it is. And recognition can help influence. And then we have emotion, right? Emotion helps us have greater control over our imagination when we're experiencing positive emotions. But any strong emotion has the potential for subconscious programming. Sometimes those negative emotions are really strong programmers, right? And so it's important to learn how to do this intentionally rather than letting those emotions control us. Our positive examples of this would be really thinking about with your goal, what are the benefits of your goal? How will you feel when you achieve the goal? But a negative example of this would be, like I mentioned earlier, using food and substances because of guilt, resentment, and using them as unhealthy coping strategies. So it can go either way, positive or negative. Now, the last way to influence your subconscious mind is through hypnosis. And all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You have to opt in for this. And so whether it's hypnotherapy or self-hypnosis, listening to recordings, things of that nature, then we can focus on the positive, not the negative. Imagine those goals, influence ourselves through that emotion, right? Who you want to become, what you want to achieve, and we can rewire our minds. And we can bring this down. So that 400 number, just by using creativity, imagination, play, you can bring that 400 repetition number down to 20. And using hypnotherapy, for example, you can bring it down to 6. Sounds a lot better than 400, right? Now, there are negative hypnotic influences out there. I mentioned television. So think about, when we're eating, drinking, smoking, like all of those types of things. Think about what you're doing before bed while you're watching television or relaxing. You're absorbing all of the things. And we can have some of those negative emotional coping strategies, negative visualization or self-talk. So whenever we are negatively rehearsing things, right? Negative mental rehearsal is a huge one. Because whatever you tell your subconscious, it believes to be true. It will just look for every bit of evidence to back that up, which is why we need to focus on what we want more of, not less of. Now, gratitude is just super powerful. It's transformative at literally every level. It reduces stress and improves sleep. It even strengthens your immune system. And on that mental level, gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. So from that fixed mindset to the growth. Emotionally, it fosters feelings of connection, joy, contentment. And physically, does things like lower your cortisol. lower your stress hormones, creates a sense of calm and balance. Gratitude's literally the ultimate mental and emotional reset button. So, how do we harness this power of gratitude? Let's figure that out. We're going to rewire and reprogram our brains. So, in order to reprogram, we want to look at what's going on, right? What is the programming that's already there? If your subconscious mind is like a computer, your thoughts are the programs. And so we want to consciously choose positive thoughts, positive growth minded affirmations, constructive beliefs, so we can overwrite those outdated or limited programs. Those things that aren't serving and supporting you anymore. Gratitude is really transformative and it shifts us to the abundance. So, what we want to do is from your list, if you have it ready, or even just one or two self talk statements, you can absolutely utilize that. So, select one negative self talk statement you've caught yourself thinking or telling yourself, or one limiting belief you've identified, if you've identified one already. And we can craft a positive growth minded affirmation to counteract it. So, for example, if it was around money, like I'm not good with money, I'm a horrible money manager, something like that. If you're, that is what you've been telling yourself and that underlying belief, your affirmation could be that you're learning to become more financially savvy and make wise decisions, right? We can repeat the affirmation to ourselves. Now, this could be around your health too. Like, I'm never going to get better. I'm always going to have this. Now, remember I talked about the influences a minute ago? Identity was one of those. We can identify with a diagnosis, right? I mentioned careers and groups and states and, countries and all of that. It also could be conditions. So if you're telling yourself it's always going to be this way, if that's your limiting belief, then I'm figuring out how to what? Or I'm getting better every single day in this area. So we want to craft these based on learning, growing, becoming better, figuring it out. So that's a great place to start. I'm learning, getting better, doing this, every single day. There's a really classic affirmation or suggestion. That's what we call affirmations in hypnosis a lot. Suggestions are just words. But basically, we're looking at telling your subconscious what to do and what to work on and giving it a job, right? We need to get the subconscious on board with your conscious mind. So saying something like, every day in every way, it or I get better and better. Fill in the blank of the it, right? I get better and better at this or in this area. That's super classic. So you're telling yourself, and again, anything you say I am in front of, you're telling yourself is true. And so pick something good, right? Pick something that is going to serve and support you for the long term. We want this to be positive. We want it to be present tense. We also want it to be long lasting, right? Something that isn't just for this moment. So that's what I want you to think of when we're making these statements. Now, there's a formula when we are going through change in our brains. When I'm teaching someone self-hypnosis, I'm teaching you all a little bit of today, we have a formula for this. Okay, and the formula is that we need to get in a nice, comfortable, quiet space to relax if possible so that we can tune out the things around us and just have anything close by that you might need. So if you want to have affirmations, if you have them in your mind, that's fine. If you want to have music, recordings, things like that, you can have that. If you need water like me or tissues or anything, you can definitely have those close by. But I just want you to be comfortable and be in a space where you can just concentrate for a little bit of focus. Now, we want to have our imagination. We want to have belief. We want to have expectancy and conviction. So I'm going to explain those here in a moment. And we need to find a method to relax. So we're going to talk about that and how I like to do that. But we're going to anchor gratitude in deeply here in just a moment after I explain these with a nice short session, okay, where you can utilize those affirmations. Now, when we're talking about gratitude, you can say things like, gratitude flows through me effortlessly. Right? I release all resistance and open myself to abundance. I am grateful, and my life is a reflection of my gratitude. Right? You can feel those affirmations taking root in your subconscious, creating new pathways of positivity and peace. That's the whole vibe that we want, right? We really want that vibe. Now, we have to open ourselves to creativity and imagination because that is the language of our subconscious. We need to have that new belief that we want to reinforce and the affirmation statements to back it up. We need to have a positive expectancy. This is going to work. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Okay. So even if you have to give yourself an affirmation around relaxation, I'm learning how to relax more and more every single day. Every single day, I'm getting better and better at relaxing my mind and my body. Those work too. Because if you've been telling yourself, well, I can't relax, I don't know how to do that, I'm horrible at this, I can't meditate, things like that, start there. That works too. But we're going to put some gratitude in here. And then we need to have conviction, and all of those pieces, all those elements will help you have that conviction that like this is going to work. And that's why I go through a lot of the education piece at first, because I want you to understand how the process works so you can have that positive expectancy that, okay, it's going to work because my brain has the ability to change. It's innate within me. Now, I love a little progressive relaxation. So that's always good. What's so funny, whenever you see on television or movies or something like that, people using hypnosis, you've probably seen them like move stuff in front of your face on the screen, right? Like a pocket watch or a pendulum or something like that. It literally makes your eyes tired, so you want to close them. You're perfectly capable of closing your eyes by yourself. But if you've ever done a yoga class, what do they tell you to do in order to balance better? They tell you to fix your eyes on one point. So that eye fixation is, you could pick a point and you could just look at it until your eyes are tired. You want to close them. So you could do that too. It's just intensely focusing, right? And you can tune everything else out around you. Remember I said that's hypnosis. So there you go. You can also count backwards, and just with each number, you get more and more relaxed. So find what works for you. Like I said, I really like progressive relaxation, so I do that in a lot of my sessions with people, especially if they're more kinesthetically inclined, if they are feelers. So here's what we want to do really quickly, because like I said, if you believe in yourself, anything's possible. You can do this. So let's go ahead and just take a couple minutes to do a quick version of this. So what you're going to do is, you're welcome to fix your eyes on a certain point if you want, and then take a few nice breaths, feeling all that good oxygen flowing in, nice and refreshing, and moving out, relaxing. Just relaxing deeper with every single breath, feeling more and more relaxed and at ease, and gently closing your eyes when you feel ready to do so. And just imagine a beautiful, healing light at your feet, just glistening and shining and radiating. And as this healing light moves up along your body slowly, it begins to relax each and every little muscle. So as it moves over your toes and your feet and your ankles and your calves, your muscles just relax and release any tension, any tightness, any stress that they might have been feeling. And allow that light to continue to slowly move upwards as your focus and awareness moves upwards with it. That energy of positivity and gratitude filling you as you release any stress, any tightness, or any tension in your muscles. Moving up higher and higher, allowing your breathing to find its own natural pace as that light moves over your torso, over your chest, as it moves past your throat, just allowing it to clear and balance your energies, relaxing all those muscles in your shoulders, your neck, your jaw, around your eyes, all the way until that light reaches the very top of your forehead, allowing your mind to open and expand, relaxing and releasing, feeling your conscious mind and your subconscious mind connecting, and feeling more and more relaxed and at ease. Feeling so good to be doing something so good just for you in this moment. Allowing that radiant light to fill your mind, to fill your heart, fill your body, your soul, your entire energy field, radiating gratitude through your entire being. And in this state, you can repeat silently to yourself, gratitude flows through me effortlessly and easily. I release all resistance and open myself to abundance. I am grateful, and my life is a reflection of my gratitude. Now feel these affirmations taking root in your subconscious, creating new pathways of positivity and peace, and then add any other affirmation now that you identified earlier that you would like to incorporate. Very good. Now I'd like you to identify one thing that you're so grateful for in this moment and why. And as you identify that to yourself, feel the emotion of the why. If you're grateful for your home, what is it you're grateful about that in this moment? Is it because it's shielding you, like for me, from the cold, keeping me warm and safe and cozy? What is it for you that you're grateful for in this moment and why? And allow those positive feelings to fill you and also radiate out from within. Just turn up those positive feelings of gratitude, just like you would if you were turning up your favorite song on the radio. Just turn that dial up and feel that gratitude so strongly. It's radiating throughout your entire body and begins to radiate out into the room that you're in, as far out as you can imagine it radiating from you. Wonderful. So anytime that you want to feel this gratitude, you can simply do what we've done today. You can take a breath, close your eyes, relax, say your affirmations, and fill yourself with that gratitude again. So I'm going to count from 1 to 5. We're going to come right back to this present moment. And as you do, you're going to bring back with you that sense of gratitude, a sense of belief in yourself. In 1, 2, 3, coming back up to full awareness of everything around you. 4, finding some movement in your hands and your feet perhaps, stretching if needed. And 5, fully alert and back in this present moment, but bringing all that gratitude back with you. All right. So let me know in the chat how you're feeling. Give yourself a little stretch. And then I'm going to share with you, if this was something that you enjoyed today, how you can learn more, how you can expand your new practice of self hypnosis and being able to fill yourself with that gratitude. Now, I do work with people in individual sessions. So you can work with me privately. I have personalized packages, different lengths of time that you can work with me based on your own needs. So I'm going to give you a QR code here in a moment to book a free 30-minute video chat with me so we can just talk about your situation, what you'd like to work on, and we can figure out how I can support you in that. I also have a program specifically for people who want the benefit of self hypnosis. It's a little bit of DIY and done with you because I have guided sessions, just like that very abbreviated one we just did, but much more expanded on specific topics. So think guided meditations, just deeper work. So I call them guided hypnotic meditations in my Clarity Collective program. You do get a discount on one-on-one sessions with me, but I have 2 live guided sessions a month, and you get access to my entire library of guided self-hypnosis recordings around success, health, and emotional regulation. And I also team up with our resident master energy healing practitioner who just did her workshop right before mine, Kate Simpson, and we do joint inner healing sessions together. There's an entire calendar of those. If you just go to that link, bit.ly/inner healing session, you'll be able to find all of the upcoming sessions that we have. They're going to help you release negative emotions and energy and rewire your mind for the positive. And it could be around body image and health, could be around things like abundance or releasing anxiety and stress, or could be helping you to stop self-sabotaging. So check those out because we have the next couple months set out on the calendar for those. And then as I'm closing out, I want you to know that you can find my programs, my Clarity Collective, and the ability to book a call with me, all of those things on my website, which is psychedupsuccess.com, or you can just scan that QR code right there and you can book that call with me that I offered, because that is really the best way to figure out which direction is going to be such a good fit for you. And I would love to have the opportunity to chat with you. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you'd like. And you'll find me at Purpose Passion Path on Facebook. That's my free group. Psyched Up Success on Instagram. You're welcome to message me and ask any questions that you have. And then, of course, in the AHS community and platform as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if there are any questions since we have a little bit of time. But I just am so grateful that all of you were here with me today because it really is such an important topic for us to make sure that we are focused on gratitude, right? That we're not just focused on what's not going well, that we're not just focused on the lack all of the time and what we don't want, because that is reinforcing all of those things that you don't want, right? We don't want more of the things we don't want. And so what we focus on grows. So I hope today that that was really supportive for you. Also, if you're interested in any of my journals that do go through growth mindset and gratitude, all of them have those pieces in them. Whether you're wanting to focus on healing from burnout, or you're wanting to embrace your strengths, or you're wanting to specifically look for those lessons and the gratitude and everything, you can find those on my website as well at Psyched Up Success. So yes. Oh, good. I know Judy's been drinking tea too. Thank you. It's like, it's that warm weather. You know, we want the warm things to soothe our throats. And I'm bad because I love iced tea and things like that. I do like hot tea too at night. But during the day, I probably need to drink a little bit more hot things because with the dry air, right, we need to rehydrate our throats a lot. Now, Judy had a question because, yes, everyone's saying, learning to relax more. So, Judy, your question was, what's a good way to change your motivation from being motivated by pain to motivated by pleasure? So, the biggest thing, honestly, with that, yes, hypnotherapy can 100% help with that. So that's the first answer. The second one is that we often will focus on that mental rehearsal. Remember, I talked about the negative mental rehearsal. We do that a lot with pain, and we come to expect it. So, what happens is we're wiring our brain. It's this whole process because we wire our brain to not only expect the pain, but then those pain processing centers get attached to that. And then when we even just think about pain, we start to feel it. So we're anticipating it. And then we're starting to send those signals that, oh, there's pain. And so our minds and bodies are very intricately connected. Hypnotherapy can help tremendously with that because we can use a similar process of what I talked about today, but you can get a lot more guidance when we work together through hypnotherapy, where I can help you not just shift those thoughts, but really rewire in a way where we're actually teaching your brain and your body to interact differently, to not release those tension and pain hormones that often come up from the negative mental rehearsal and the anxiety or fear of the pain or stress around pain, right? There's going to be a corresponding chemical response in your body and physiological response in your body when you think those things. And so I can teach you how to shift that through hypnotherapy and start to release pain relieving hormones and feel good hormones. And so then we're not adding to the pain, right? We're absolutely able then to take our nervous system from what I like to call the emergency room into the healing room. We talked about in Delta sleep, you can heal and recover. Well, we can activate our own inner healing ability all the time. Hypnotherapy is an amazing way to do that. And the research shows, like I said, instead of the 400 repetition, right, 6 sessions of hypnotherapy can get you 90% plus rate of change. So we can really bring that down with hypnotherapy. Instead of it taking hundreds of sessions, you can do that in just half a dozen sessions, for example. So, yeah, definitely book a call with me. Anybody who's watching who's interested in that process and how to do that, because that's something definitely recommend having guidance for. And that's why I think it's really important to know what's going to be the best fit for you. You can always come to one of mine and Kate's inner healing sessions to get a little bit of a taste of what we do. Or again, you can hop into my Clarity Collective if you like the guided sessions and you want to be able to do those 24/7 anytime you want. And then also get that individual support for something you want to go deeper on. A lot of times I can help steer you in a direction and we can do a smaller amount of sessions and then you can keep going on your own once you've learned that process with the help of those recordings. So good options. So thank you so much for being here with me, everyone who is here live. And if you're watching on the replay, would love to answer your questions as well. Feel free to reach out. And remember that attitude of gratitude isn't just a cliche. It's a real thing and it really can change your brain. So take care, everyone. And I will look forward to connecting with you soon. Bye for now.